Already they're asking for this one. It never fails.
QG, we have an incoming transmission. Source is from someone named Count Shaman.
Oh yeah, I know him. Patch it through.
Hi there. I picked up a signal that someone is covering the Zero series on their channel.
Yep, that's me. And judging from your enthusiasm, I'm guessing you want a piece of this?
A piece is all I need. I'm only a little spider after all.
Yeah, little. Operator, can you request the transfer coordinates?
Roger that. Coordinates received.
Great. Initiate the transfer.
Understood.
Okay, looks like the transfer went without a hitch. Hey there, friend.
Under normal circumstances, I would have just teleported right in myself, but I do appreciate the setup you got here just for the theme.
Okay, fair enough. So yeah, it's kinda like this.
Oh yeah. Looks like you're gonna need some help with this one.
Well, you can't have a coin with only one side, and you can't have a series that has great bosses without said series having its fair share of malfunctions. Mega Man Zero, great as it is no exception.
The Zero series is one of the smaller, more focused Mega Man generations, so its selection of bosses are a lot more consistent, whether we're talking about the difficulty balance, or improvements done from one game to another. With that, the rough moments definitely stick out harder than what you typically see in something like the Post-Inafune X series.
So, with the help of Count Shaman here, I figure it's time to deal with Neo Arcadia's least wanted. Whether it's due to certain jank mechanics or other unfair bullshit, we've picked out a selection of baddies that are either bad at their job or try too hard for bad reasons. Let's hope we don't get tetanus from scrounging through the scrap heap of crap we're about to navigate.
I'm not worried. I got thin feet.
How are you wearing shoes then?
It's a style preference.
Okay. Well, I'll be sure to take some special precautions on my end. No more time to waste, we've got some bad bots to bash. It's game time! Man, already I feel kinda guilty.
Why?
We're starting off by roasting one of your fellow burning bugs.
I'm a spider. Spiders are not!
Sometimes a boss can be affected by the mechanics of the game itself. In the case of Soul Titanian from Zero 4, that doesn't exactly work in her favor. Being in charge of an artificial sun set to levels of hyper-desertification, this lady is far from waifu material.
Now, if we're talking about the fight with Sol on her own, she's not really that bad. This Rupaloceradic Regalite bears a couple of fiery fists of fury in her arsenal, befitting of her sun theme, including, but not limited to, spinning fire fans that twirl around the room, a flamethrower that jabs downwards, and a devastating fireball attack that splits into multiple pieces. On its own, none of these attacks will make her list-worthy. The elephant in the room, however, is, well, the room.
You see, Titanian's stage is scorching hot, and the gimmick behind it is that through most of the stage, you have to scramble from shade to shade to avoid overheating. Zero may be a legend, but even he can only take so much. This unfortunately carries over to Titanian herself. Aside from not having walls, more than half the screen is covered in harsh sunlight. This means that you only have the two safe zones to linger in, which, given Titanian's attacks, isn't always easy.
Having to deal with continuous damage definitely does badly for your rank. Granted, it's not a big deal in Zero 4 since rank doesn't affect your accessibility to EX skills in this game, but if you really want that sweet bragging right, it can still hurt.
This can land more in the annoying category than flat-out bullshit, and the fact that the issue with the fight is mostly the arena is why it's so low, but I'm still not a fan of this fight. At least in the special unlockable rematch in Mega Man ZX, the hot zones are removed, but that just makes it too easy. One extreme can be just as bad as the other. Speaking of which...
Here goes nothing. Harpuya is my favorite character in the Zero series. It might be nostalgia, but I've always really admired the rivalry he had with Zero and the fact that he stood up more for his morality rather than pride. So as you can tell, I'm not too happy to admit that his debut battle did him no justice whatsoever.
Yeah, Zero 1 did Harpuya dirty. For someone who's Zero's foil and, oh, I don't know, the de facto leader of the Guardians, his first battle is a total joke. His attacks are few and easy enough to dodge, whether it's his triple slash, his air slash, or his air dive. Pretty simple stuff. The problem is that when he flinches, he'll do his triple slash upon wake up. Every single time. He does have a drill bit attack, but with the right timing, you can lock his AI before he can even use it.
And the worst part? You don't even need to use his weakness to the ice element. A standard charge attack is all it takes. Man, even Spark Mandrill got pounced over his face at that. Sure, it's possible that you didn't have your weapons upgraded before you reached this fight, but given how difficult the game was early on, you probably will have jacked up your skills just getting through those already.
Now he does have an EX attack where he creates a cyclone that can push you into the lightning he creates, but given his aforementioned AI that's easier to break than a toothpick, it's unlikely that you'll ever get the chance to see it, even if your rank is high enough for it. In case it hasn't sunk in quite yet, 01 is yet another example of first game syndrome where they hadn't quite figured stuff out yet, as we'll see more of later.
Thankfully, his battles in the sequel are improved marginally. Not only does he get a few new moves to amp up his aerodynamic assaults, but he's also not as stunlock happy as he was earlier. Still, his original outing was a pretty embarrassing display, especially when the other Guardians have much more intricate battles in comparison.
I feel like the Mutos Reploids of the Zero series were the natural progression of the standard bosses in Mega Man games, in terms of design at the very least. The Classic series had standard humanoids, the X series had animals and occasional plants and fungi, and the Zero series had mythical creatures like Pegasi, Krakens, Mandragoras,
And chicken! Out of all the bosses in 04, Cocopetri felt the most plain. I'm not against his design or anything. A cockatrice Reploid who specializes in petrification is a pretty neat idea, but it feels like a lot more could have been done with him. The normal version of the fight is so easy you can feel Toadman blushing from a distance. He just bounces around the room and occasionally dash at you. Sometimes he petrifies you with a projectile, but it's relatively simple to dodge.
There are a few other attacks at his disposal, but he rarely uses them, such as acid bombs and laying eggs, which, by the way, isn't exactly fitting for a rooster. And if you're going for the EX skill, making the floor panels move, and a Flashman-esque Zawaru though, coupled with scattering bombs around the room, but anyone who's used to this kind of game will be able to avoid them with little trouble, especially since he leaves himself wide open by not moving a lot of the time.
The only attack that makes him a little more persistent is the feather attack that he uses fairly frequently in the harder fight. Even then, I'd say that just makes him more annoying than it is challenging. And besides, if your most dangerous attack is slowly gliding feathers, then something's clearly not spot on. You know, unless we're to believe Zero's allergic.
There's frustrating, there's insultingly easy, and then there's just bland. With a few more well-blended spices, this could have been so much better. But as it is, he simply commits the offense of being unmemorable. At least we have chicken.
So tell me, QG, what would you say is the laziest thing you could do for a boss fight?
Well, personally, I'd say it's taking a mini-boss and promoting it to a full boss fight while changing literally nothing else.
Wait, Capcom did that, didn't they?
Oh no, they didn't do that.
Oh good, I figured they'd be too dignified
They
to...
promoted 3.
Oh yeah, those.
So, midway through 02, LPZ launches a full frontal assault on Neo Arcadia, figuring they'd be easy pickings without Copy X around. Needless to say, he dropped some spaghetti, because when Zero goes to do damage control, what awaits him is a corridor of his trashed comrades, as well as enemy forces that are very much intact upon his arrival. And what awaits him at the end of this scene of carnage? A Thunder Golem.
Okay, so it's a recycled mini-boss thrown into a boss arena with the main boss theme playing. Does it have any new attacks? Nope. It just shoots lasers that can easily be dodged by standing in the right place. You know, this would have been fine if they planned on catching us off guard with some kind of surprise attack, but it didn't take long to realize that that's expecting too much, because what comes after this is another golem, the fire one.
And does this one have updated attacks? Of course not. It has the same fire spitting that creates waves of fire that it had before, and the same weakness to thunder that it had before, so it goes down the same way that it did before. And because of the rule of 3, there's an ice golem to finish this, with the same icicles as before, the same snowballs as before, and the same weakness to fire as before.
So you fight 3 pushover mini-bosses, and by the time you're done, you're left thinking, that's it? We've already dealt with these guys in previous stages. The first in the opening stage, the second in the Polar Camera stage, and the third in... So I think it's a no-brainer that this segment of the game is just filler for story progression that has a few big enemies to fight just to pretend at increasing the tension. At least it's nice to see that later on, 04 did not go the same route and actually have their own set of interval bosses with unique design and battle mechanics.
Seriously, this is the best line of defense the Guardians could come up with? That, combined with what happens later, really makes me think that retrieving El Piso wasn't exactly worth the trouble.
Surely change his name to Epochnasi while he's ahead.
Eh?
Despair.
Oh.
What's going on?
Well, we've ripped into 4 bosses, so by Zero Series standards, that means it's time for the obligatory intermission stage and the boss that comes with it.
Oh, okay then. I suppose it can't be that bad. I mean, what could be worse than throwing 3 mini-bosses together?
Well, how about a tank that feels like it belongs in a whole other series?
I don't see that being too much. Kick my 3rd and 4th eyes, why don't you? Remember how in Mega Man Legends, or 64, there's a mission where you have to destroy a bunch of Bond robots before they demolish the city and lock you out of accessing certain in-game features? Don't know about you, but I can't say I like that mechanic very much. And I'm not giving Zero a pass for opening the gates to a boss like that either.
So the forces of Neo Arcadia, being appropriately annoyed with your guerrilla tactics of your resistance, decide to storm your base with a gigantic tank equipped with a bomb. And it's up to you to tear it apart piece by piece before it reaches the base. Sounds a lot like a boss from Metal Slug, doesn't it? Well, kinda. Except it's about as exciting as chewing on dry soil, and it doesn't help that Zero never had access to a rocket launcher!
The main reason this boss is as dreadful to deal with as it is to look at is that it's just a dirt cheap damage sponge. The segments on its vessel each took so long to break, and didn't require much strategy other than attack one spot, back off several times, rinse and repeat. At least if it has interesting attacks, it could make the fight a bit thrilling to deal with, but all it does is shit out a bunch of mines and infinitely spawning bats and Pantheon reinforcements. So it can't even get creative in that department despite being, you know, a tank! Having to cope with the constraints of 01's skill mechanic doesn't make things any less unpleasant.
And then there's the consequences of exactly how you deal with this boss. Take it out too quickly, and you'll likely end up missing out on a couple of cyber elves. One from one of the enemies that spawn, and another that can't be reached unless some of the midpoint building is destroyed. Take too long and fail, or abort the mission, and Hano Machine gets to walk straight up to your door. No pressure or anything.
Notice that we haven't brought up a boss from 03 yet. Well, that's because 03 is where the series reached its peak in quality. Not only did it get its gameplay style figured out and every bit of weapon use feels satisfying, but nearly every boss in the game is very well designed. Difficulty was fair, and the ever-present challenge is always exciting.
Well, almost always, because no matter how good the boss lineup is in a game, reminder, 03 gave us my favorite final boss ever, there's always that one boss that sticks out like a sore thumb amongst the rest of the cast. Always that one. Out of all the members of Vile's number standing between you and unraveling the Mad Tyrant's plans, Cubit Foxstar was definitely the most annoying for me. This Full Metal yokai waits at the end of an already creepy stage, and he's got his own flames prepared to keep the fear lit.
Okay, question. He?
Apparently Foxstar was revealed to be an effeminate male in one of the drama tracks. This was also in line with the actual legend of the Nine-Tailed Fox.
Well, so much for gender diversity. I want to cut female reploids in half too.
We already covered Soul Titanian.
Well, at least the X has more. Yeah? I don't have a problem, I swear.
Anyway, this Nine-Tailed Terror has a wide assortment of attacks that cover a lot of ground, and some of them really burn me up.
Ironically, the attack that his EX skill is tied to is the simplest one to avoid. Jumping to the middle of the screen and shooting a rain of fire.
Burning ring of...
I said rain, not ring. His other attacks involve fireballs, one where he shoots them straight at you, and another where he wheels them across the room. It's tricky to dodge, but still manageable.
But his last attack is the big problem. He'll split into 5 large flames that will dance around the room before he reforms. The problem is just how much of the screen this attack covers. While it's technically possible to dodge this attack, the window is so narrow that unless you've got this fight down to a T, you're likely to take at least one hit. And during my playthrough, he freaking spammed it! In fact, I think he used it more than all his other attacks, combined! I'd rather take my chances on Kurama, the one from Naruto. Now we're up to this one.
Come on, we're barely over halfway. There's no need to have a cow.
Oh, I'm gonna have a cow, alright. I'm gonna have a freaking raging bull! You don't understand. Mino Magnus could have had class. He could have been a contender. He could have been somebody. Instead of a bum, which is what he is. Being the biggest of the Einherjar, he's all brawn and no brain. Even Zero ain't got time for his shit. But that feeds into the first problem with this Longhorn. Big bosses often have smaller hitboxes, and of course, in this case, it means the head, which he keeps protected annoyingly often.
Times like this is when the elemental weaknesses will have come in handy, but since elements are tied to EX skills in 0-4, trying to hit him with his icy kryptonite is tricky at best and unfair at worst. It's difficult to pull off with Ice Javelin, and the Ice Blade? It won't even reach his knees! Not to mention his attacks are a combination of one annoyance after another, including grabbing and magnetizing you. The magnetizing causes debris to gather on you and affect your mobility, leaving you pretty vulnerable for a while. His EX skill where he releases green magnetic spears to lump giant cubes of trash at you is not as bad as the others, but the magnetic effect still makes it hit harder than the trash compactor that should be crushing it.
But there's one attack that really puts him this high, and it's the one where he splits his body apart and tries to crush you with it. Gee, doesn't that sound familiar? And just like with Foxstar, Magnus's attack has the same problem. It covers a ludicrous amount of space on the screen, is ridiculously difficult to dodge without taking damage, and considering what Mino Magnus is based on, you can imagine that an attack like that is gonna hurt like a mother. And it's one of the few times he leaves his head open to attack. This master of Magnet can go suck on some X-Chicken for all I care.
Welcome to die!
Okay, while we're making our way up this list, let's take a moment to review the natural progression of difficulty. Ever since the difficulty curve was created by accident with the arcade classic Space Invaders, a game is expected to start relatively easy and gradually become harder as you progress. The beginning difficulty and rate of progression may vary, but this forward growth is important to a challenging yet fair—
Hey kids, wanna see a difficulty spike?
Stop screaming! Well, to be perfectly honest, you may well end up screaming in frustration when it comes to Aztec Falcon. First problem, you see those Reploids down below? The platform you're fighting on is slowly descending towards them, waiting to crush them. You know what that means, right? Yup, time limits!
Second, those giant electric arms of his are perfectly integrated to make sure fighting him in a distant range will give you hell, because your bullets are not phasing through that. So if you want to do some real damage, you gotta get close to him with your saber. Yeah, because I too boldly approach a boss that moves as fast as he hits hard without thinking, maybe I'd die first.
You can dodge most of his projectiles by wall climbing, but he's got a giant magnet made just to counter that. Now with all these skills, you'd think this would be appropriate for a boss you'd encounter mid-game. Well, here's the kicker with Aztec Falcon. He's the game's first real boss! Yeah, before you even pick missions, you have to deal with this crap. And it also highlights why having to grind weapons was a bad idea. There's plenty of respawning enemies in the opening level, but if you have to grind to have a good chance of beating the first major boss, that just proves how pointless it all is.
So let me get this straight. The Guardian that's supposed to lead the army this peacock came from is somehow less qualified to be a threat compared to him. You know, I'm starting to wonder where the priorities lie when this game was made.
Is it just me, or is it starting to get hot in here?
Oh, not you, my friend. It's me. I'm building the crave to tend to a particular bird of steel.
We had fried chicken just 6 segments ago.
I'm not talking chicken. I'm talking hot wings! What is it with Mega Man and fire bosses? For some reason, at least one from each series has to come with a terrible stage, awful boss fight, and in some cases, negative story overtone. They can never just be bad enough. If they gotta suck, they had to really cinder their chances of redemption. Say hello to Phoenix Magnian, Mega Man Zero's trademark crappy fire boss. When you first come across this glorified quail, your first instinct will obviously be to hit it, right? Ha! Good luck with that. Magnian will stand still to bait you in, only to dodge your attacks completely and follow it up with a counterattack of his own. He does this every single time!
So half the fight is just baiting him out, and the other half is hoping that your reflexes are good enough to either dodge or counter his attacks. Those attacks include firing burning arrows from his wings, becoming a living fireball, or even causing eruptions around the room. And those are the easy attacks. Then there's the clones he creates that attack you, where it's a guessing game to determine which one is real, otherwise you'll get slapped.
But oh man, that's not even his worst attack. No! The Big Bad Crux attack is when he's able to grab a hold onto you and pelt you with mirages of the old axe bosses as you squirm helplessly until the giant chunk of your health bar depletes. Twiddle your controls as much as you want, you're not getting out of that. And his EX attack? He tosses you across the room and scorches you through the ceiling. Helplessly. Fun! It's honestly kind of jarring how much effort was put into creating a boss fight this unfathomably painful. It's not practical, but whenever I have to deal with this migraine Moltres wannabe, I make sure to prepare my Thunder Boomerang for some hopscotching antics. Ain't no way he's dodging that!
Making a bad situation worse is that he's just the capstone of a bleak, boring, and poorly designed level. Seriously, whoever designed that bomb puzzle and the condition for that one cyber elf was clearly not in their right mind. Not to mention, it just drags on.
You know, I can't believe there's a time when I used to think Boo Beam Trap was the worst Mega Man boss I've ever fought. Must have been trying to block this out of my memory at the time. And can you blame me? Who will want to remember having to cross the routine of getting violently molten by this obnoxious bag of... Excuse me for a moment.
Oh no. Operator, we are at Code Red. Count Shaman's Rage just broke. Initiate emergency restraint procedures ASAP! While we're helping the boy regain his senses, here are some dishonorable mentions. Mahaganesharif from 01, Garderotic, also from 01, Burble Heckalot from 02, the Baby Elves from 03, and Pegasolta Eclair from 04. So, are you feeling any better? Got all that ranting out of your system?
Yeah, I think I got it all doused.
Good, because now it's my turn.
Oh no. Sometimes I do feel kinda sorry having to tear into 01. It has a lot of imperfections, sure, but I still admire the risk it's trying to take branching out of the standard Mega Man formula with its grimmer story and more flexible gameplay movement. It's just a shame that the unnecessary skill restrictions and cheap boss fights made it feel rather dated. It's lucky to manage its way out into being a complete series, because had this been the first of the games I played, I'd be surprised if it got a chance to bounce back after...
The fucking Let's Play curse! Let me tell you a little fact about my Let's Play of the Legacy Collection. Whenever a boss took multiple attempts to beat, I only showed my first attempt and the one where I succeeded. This was a time-saving measure, because if I didn't, the finale of 01 would have lasted about an hour and a half. About 15 minutes for the lead-up, another 10 getting used to the Tales of Copy X's first phase, which was admittedly fairly challenging, and at least another hour on Phase 2 alone! The madness I went through is something I would never wish on anyone.
How about we take a look at why Phase 2 of Copy X managed to strike as many false chords as it did. First of all, while most boss rooms are 1 to 3 screen lengths, this fight gives you about half a screen of floor and 2 moving walls with spikes. The rest is a pit of unending despair. Then there's his attacks. All of them take advantage of the tight spot you're put in to make the fight a living nightmare. He's got those halos which will put you in place for him to ram you with his flying walls, and if not careful, they can even send you plummeting down the sad old pit. Again, fun.
Second, there's a laser that temporarily sets the floor on fire, forcing you onto those moving walls. Normally, this wouldn't be as much of an issue, were it not for the fact that the camera still recognizes the full dimensions of the room, meaning you won't always see when the fire dies down and it's safe to drop to the floor. But worst of all is that damn laser array! If you're not in just the right spot to bait it when it goes off, your window for dodging it will be punishingly short. More than likely, you're gonna take a hit here.
By the way, his hitbox is that itty bitty dime-shaped head of his. Details, but you know, it's not like the fight is inconvenient enough already. Just like his first form, he has only 2 health bars as opposed to the future final bosses adding a literal silver lining on theirs. But given what he's capable of, that's probably the only ounce of mercy this boss has got to show for.
But beyond my personal salt, I feel like this fight shines a light on one of 01's issues. Just as Aztec Falcon highlights the pointlessness of adding weapon grinding, this fight highlights the issues with upgrades. If you want to maintain a good rank, you need to avoid damage and avoid using Cyber Elves, meaning going through both phases of Copy X on half a health bar and no sub-tanks. This is because while future games left 2 sub-tanks in the stages for you to find, 01 tied all 4 of them to Cyber Elves, on top of the health upgrades! Now imagine having to go through all that on just 16 points of health. My advice for first-timers? Swallow your pride, grind the E-crystals, and use the goddamn Cyber Elves! Rank only helps you once in the whole game anyway. There. I said it. I feel better. So, thanks for helping me out with this.
Aw, I was hoping you'd tear apart the fabric of space or something, but you're welcome anyway.
Well, the Transerver's taken enough damage from you as it is. Not making it worse.
Well, I guess I'm not going back through there then. Well, pleasure to you anyway. I'll pay you the bills later. I'm Count Shaman, and my regards to you from my humble castle.
Well, once repairs are done, I'm gonna have to invest in some improved thermal protection for the equipment. Anyway, I'm the... Wait, I do my sign-off on camera. There, that's much better. I'm the Quarter Guy, and until next time, the arcade is closed.